You were born in Long Island? Is that a fact?
Yes, yes.
What hospital were you born in?
I was born in South Side, man.
And were you born to a musical family?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How much so are we talking about?
It runs pretty deep. My mom, she sang everything from opera to jazz. Back in her day, she even sang at the Apollo. You know what I mean? She was really chasing a dream. So my pop shut that down. You know what I mean?
How did he was not interested in her having that kind of lifestyle?
I mean, he would have loved it, you know what I mean? But, at that time, I think, they was a little more interested in raising a family, you know what I mean? Pops kind of slowed that down, but...
How many of you were there?
5 in the family, five brothers and sisters.
And you are which one?
5 brothers and sisters, put them in a line.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Which one were you?
I'm the youngest, man.
You're the youngest.
Word up.
And were you an attention kid? Did you want attention as a little kid?
Nah, actually, I was good, man. I got mad love from the family, my big brothers and sisters, man. I got all the attention. They couldn't go nowhere without me. You know what I mean? I was spoiled. But I was kind of doing my own thing, man. I played sports since I was small. I was in the band when I was small. I was in all kind of, after school activities. Just trying to, stay busy, man. But, I definitely ran in my brothers and sisters' shadows, though.
Were any of them into music as well?
All of them, man.
Everyone was into it.
Yeah, no doubt.
What about with rap?
My oldest brother, Ronnie, big up my brother Ronnie. He went to school. He played music, played the piano since he was small. Went to school for it. Long story short, he wound up with Curtis Blow on tour. He played the synthesizer on Dollar Bill, y'all. Dollar Bill, y'all.
Okay.
That's actually my brother saying that, Dollar Bill, y'all.
Really?
What? Wait,
That's
what's
my
your brother's
brother,
name?
Ronnie Griffin. You know what I mean?
His last name's Griffin.
Yeah,
you didn't know.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
What?
And the influences that was passed down, man. Like my older brother, Stevie Blas, he played the saxophone, so I picked up the saxophone.
I heard you play like 11 instruments. Is that true?
Close, man. You know what I mean? Like I play the piano with one finger and I layer it and it sound like Stevie Wonder came through. But I got an ear for I got an ear for music. You know what I mean? But
wait, did you play the drums on
I
No
played
the
the
Ledge?
drums. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll get there. Hold on, we're gonna get there. I know you
go.
We got to hit stuff.
Yes,
Okay, so
sir,
when did you
yes,
start?
sir.
When did you start getting serious about the music thing?
I think since I was young, man, because of the influences around me, my oldest brother was already out there in the mix. My brother under him, Stevie Blas, that's the one that plays keyboards, move the crowd and all that for me back in the day. Again, he played sax. My sisters sang, so I was always around music. And, back then coming up as a kid, if it wasn't Michael Jackson or, Stevie Wonder or, Kool and the Gang, we was always influenced by what was going on, and we wanted to be stars, at a young age. I know at least I did, man. But
Was there any sort of like park scene though in Long Island? Like Long Island is
yes,
different.
sir.
There
Yes,
still
sir.
was.
Oh, big time.
What
man.
was the park
I was
scene?
in a little hood, man. Wine dance. Big up to my people out wine dance.
Wine
man.
dance. You've told me about wine dance before.
Yeah,
Crime dance. If you will.
I didn't even know if y'all knew. That's what we call it, crime
I
dance.
lived there
man.
for a little while.
Wow.
Next door to a chop shop and a whorehouse.
Okay.
Watch it safe, dude. You people gonna be coming looking for you, baby. Hey, yo, but it was like being raised by a village, man. It was a small hood, but everybody knew everybody. Things still popped off, man. But it's what made me who I am.
Do you
man.
remember
So I
who
get that big
the
up.
Do you remember who the DJ was at the park?
Yeah, it was a few, man. We had DJ Pleasure, big up Pleasure. That was one of the first cats I remember. Nelson PR, another cat I remember. Then after that, it just went crazy. Breeze, Maniac, Dr. Say. List goes on, man. And that's another thing about the town. It was flourishing, man. From sports to music to, everybody trying to come up, man. And it kind of
Who else is from wine dance from sports? Was anyone who popped off?
Yeah, we had this brother named George Cooper, fullback for the football team. He went to Ohio State, then he went to the pros, man. He hurt his shoulder, dislocated his shoulder, so it slowed him down a lot, man. But some good things came out of there, man. As far as inspiration, man. So I owe a lot to that, man.
And at what age did you start getting serious about rhymes?
I always thought I was pretty good, man, but I think like 8th, 9th grade, man. I started getting a little more serious, and at that time hip hop was growing in the hood, and at that time, it was DJing and MCing for me. But I think about that time I knew I was ready to, stick to MCing, man. But I think it was a pretty good move. I'm all right on the ones and twos, man. But
Wait, don't say you DJ too.
Oh, no doubt.
Everyone DJ. It's one of the
that's
things.
You have to,
today,
man.
yeah.
Well, you have to, man. I got the Serato set up in the crib. I got a whole room full of vinyl. You know what I mean? I switched over to the Serato, but. We going to the crib tonight, man. I'm going to turn the Serato on and we going to rock on. You know what I mean? We starting it off with Annie Up, man. I told my man Fink, But yeah, man, we love this music, man. And,
So you start 8th, 9th grade, you start writing somewhat seriously. Is this like during school, you sitting in class just writing rhymes?
Well, nah, actually what I was doing was kind of, sponging everything up, man. That's when I started realizing that my education helped me, in what I was doing, man. Hearing Mo D back in the day and Melly Mel back in the day, I realized, man, either go get the newspaper or, make sure you in school early, man. I understood that vocabulary and understanding, how to write essays, you know what I mean? It sound corny to all my young MCs out there, but listen, man, it's about understanding how to write, how to attract the crowd, how to tell a story, how to put, interesting things in the story, man. And if you in that age right now, man, you in school, man, learn an essay, man, and watch how dope you get on the mic. You heard?
Where in this story is gaining knowledge of self?
I gained knowledge of self in 86, late 85.
Same age though, 9th grade, 10th grade?
No, 86, not until he was a rap, not until he was on already.
Yeah, I just got knowledge of self in like late 85, 86.
So your career was already starting.
So you had just got knowledge when you first put out records?
Just before I met Eric B, man. It was like maybe a few months before I met Eric B. Word up.
So you get serious with the rhymes as a kid, and you're saying like, did you get his rap name?
What was your first rap name?
Kid Wizard.
Kid Wizard. Way better than Rakim.
Right. Way better.
Way better. I should have kept that one, right?
Exactly. Way better. Now, here's the thing, Ra. Here's what I got to ask you.
All right.
How? This is what makes you a genius. This is what makes you why everyone looks at you the way we do, and I'm nervous about talking to you.
Thank you, my brother.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart. This is a big deal for me. How were you able to write in a way that you hadn't heard anyone write previously?
Good
because
question.
Before Rakim, there was no Rakim. I'll be honest. We don't look at those records
like when people
the same
rap
way.
now in a certain way, we're like, oh, he kind of sounded like Rakim. But there was nothing like that before.
Maybe you'll say it was Kaz. Maybe you'll say there was someone. But who was it that you based it on? Because I don't hear it.
Nah, I think it had. Well, my biggest influence was Kaz, Melly Mel, and Mo D. Those are like my big brothers, man. But I think it was my music, my involvement with music, being around music, my mother playing jazz all the time, and me liking jazz and being in a band and learning how to play an instrument. I kind of learned time and space. You know what I mean? But my secret was John Coltrane, man. I used to listen to John Coltrane, and I used to want to make my flow sound like a John Coltrane solo. You know what I mean? And
like the sax.
No, I don't know. Because guess what? I'm a simpleton.
You know what I mean?
So your voice, you were making it like an instrument.
Yes, sir.
But the funny thing is, usually when people do that, like the people I think of making their voice like an instrument, I think of someone where the vocals, or the vocals are secondary. Like I think of Old Dirty in that way. But with Old Dirty, it's not about what he's saying; it's about the way he used his voice.
Exactly.
You actually use it's not just your voice. You use the words to fit that. Like you were such a master,
and intellect.
Right, that's the thing. Like you use word selection that other people didn't use previous to you. Like what you said earlier about how studying was important to what you did. It actually would you try to find words?
Oh, no doubt.
Would you be looking in a dictionary like, yo, I'm gonna find a good word?
Nah. Like it wasn't really. like I couldn't look in the dictionary. It would kind of throw me off, because then you open the book of, you open the dictionary, now you see millions of words, and it takes
Method Man is saying hello to
Oh,
Rakim.
Method Man is saluting to Rakim.
Saluting, hand on heart. He kind of waved to us.
I'll take the wave.
Yes,
But
sir.
That's Papa Wu right there.
that's Papa Wu, who's taking time.
That's
to
the first
Wu
person
the
I ever.
building.
Papa Wu's the first person I ever heard speak at a 5% rally.
Really?
Papa Wu right there.
But by the way, this is a great moment.
Yo, there's 1,000 niggas with meth.
Yeah, that's Method Man. It's Method Man at a New York show, and there's Rick Ross as well. But this is a great moment to have with Rakim, and we'll get to it. I don't want to stop from where we are. Let's get back to. We'll talk about how other artists respect you, but about how you would find words for your rhymes.
Oh yeah, I was always fishing for words, man, and that's what I mean by paying a little extra attention in English class and social studies and things like that. A lot of people used to ask me, yo, you be looking in the dictionary? Nah, man, I don't look in the dictionary, man, but
You absorbed it.
Exactly, man. I used to absorb everything I could, man, in the midst of, living.
Okay, so here's the craziest question I have.
What up?
Rakim, to me, you're like one of the coolest figures in my life.
Thank you.
Were you cool in school?
Oh, man, listen, man.
Because you were paying attention in class, which wasn't always the
no
cool
doubt,
thing.
no doubt. But listen, man, I'm not going to sit here like I was a, straight A student or even a B student, but the teachers knew I can do it. I was a little knucklehead. Sometimes I skip class, you know what I mean? But I was a smart,
yeah.
young cat, man. I got it. But
not because you weren't having a good time also, and you did both. You were social and you paid attention.
You know what I mean? Exactly, man.
Did you drink?
And at the same time, moms and pops, they ain't play that, cutting school, and you know what I mean. Even though I did as much as I could, but your
parents were on you.
Ultimate respect for moms and pops, man.
And you were always in a 2-parent home. Your parents were together.
Yes, sir.
Always.
To
this day.
No, they passed away.
They both
Yes,
have passed, but they stayed together.
Always. Yes, sir.
What about weed and drinking?
What about it, man?
Did you do that in high school?
Yeah, I smoked a little in high school, man. You know what I mean? Drank a little bit in high school.
But you weren't you weren't like out of control in any way.
Nah, not at all, man. And again, I had to come home at night, and moms used to. And it's funny, she used to do it to the whole fam. You come in at night, late at night, toe up a little bit. Moms would look at you. She'd be like, "Come here, boy. Let me smell your eyes." You know what I mean? And being a young kid, the first thing you do is you sober up. You get nervous, and she'd be like, start laughing on you. But you had to have that respect for moms and pops. You couldn't come in sloppy. You know what I mean? You couldn't come in too late, especially on.
They might have known
nights.
you were doing something.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But if they seen I was handling my little, swagger and coming home at the right time and waking up, going to school, feeding the dogs, you know what I mean? Cleaning up my little area, cutting the grass. They ain't really had too much to say.
Was it a big dog family? Do you guys always have dogs?
Yeah, we had like 3 dogs, man.
Who were the dogs? What kind of dogs?
Had German Shepherds and Collies and shit like that.
You still have dogs to this day or no?
Oh, no doubt. Well, my wife got dogs, and they kind of attached to me. But yeah,
What kind of dogs do you have now?
She got a mini Yorkie and a poodle, man.
Yeah, please don't say both mini.
The poodle's kind of big.
Full size, okay.
He's supposed to be, but the other ones are.
I just want to picture Rakim with a mini.
Oh, yo, you should see me on Sundays, G. Look. Dog right here, man. I got remote control. Every now and then. Damn, pardon me. Dog right here. I'll be like, yo, go upstairs with your moms, man. I always loved animals, man, so it's all right, man. It's all right.
Okay, so we got to get to your career a little bit. How does it end up getting started, the actual career get started for Rakim?
My man Alvin Toney, cat I grew up with in Juan Dance, from the football team. My man Albie J, what up, baby? He brought Eric B to my crib one day, man.
Wait, did you say who? Albie?
Albie J.
Is it the same person
Alvin
or no?
Tony.
Different Albie.
Who do you think?
Albie,
different.
Okay, just being clear. Someone else
Alvin
was
Toney.
All right.
So I'm sitting at the crib one day, and he knocks on the door, and I was real tight, because moms and pops ain't, appreciate just anybody coming to the crib too. So I go to the door, open the door, and my man standing there with Eric B. So I look at him, I'm like, yo. He like, yo, Rod, this is Eric B, man. He lived with Marley Marl and Magic and all that. He want to make a record and shit. So I look at him and shit. Real shit. I look at Eric and shit. Like, yo, Duke, I don't like nobody in the crib. He's like, yo, Rod, real shit, man. Yo, he be with Marley. He work at BLS, boom, boom, boom. And at this time, I thought I was going to be a football player. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, come on in the crib, man. Took him downstairs, and I had this little tape that I made. So when I go to college, niggas start talking, I could just put my tape in. And it's funny, I'm saying tape. Well, it was a cassette.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
What else would it be?
But as soon as niggas start talking, I could throw the cassette in and let it rock. I ain't have to say nothing. But I let Eric be in the crib. Took him downstairs to the little basement area Mom and Pop had hooked up real nice. Throw the joint in. And there was like a long version of my melody. You know what I mean? So Eric B heard it.
Hold on, what beat? Who did the beat?
His brother played on it.
Oh, your brother played my melody.
Yeah, we used to go to my man Maniac house, this kid Paul Garage. Big up to Maniac. We used to go to his crib. He had like a nice little setup where we can kind of make little beats, you know what I mean, Casios and, you know, shit like that back in the day. But it was nice, man. But, you know, we used to go over there, do my little thing. But I let Eric B hear the tape, man, and he was like, yo, you know, I could take it to Marley and, you know, see what we can do with it. So I was like, you know, I'm going to college. I don't really want to make a record at this point. I said, but if you get a deal.
Did you already get accepted to college? Or you was going?
Nah, I was just working out, trying to get, you know what I mean? You know,
so you planned on going to college?
Yeah, and, you know, my cousin kind of put a good word in for me at Stony Brook. So I was trying to, you know, work out, get my little game on. I played quarterback.
You were quarterback?
No doubt. You know
By the way,
I mean?
It's only right.
Yeah,
it's only right.
What else would he be?
Gotta be in control, man.
In control.
But, yeah, man, it's doing that. And Eric B comes to the crib. I let him head. And I was like, yo, I don't really know if I want to do that. You know, he was like, well, yo, you can be featured on the joint and you don't have to sign nothing. That's why I was Eric B featuring Rakim.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So
thank you, because I've always wondered about that. It's never quite made sense.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be quarterback somewhere, man.
So you didn't want to sign. You said, nah, let it be your record, and I'll just be featured on it.
Word up. And he came up with it, but I was kind of hitting around, like, how could we do it where I don't have to sign? And he was like, well, you can just be featured on the joint. And
he never heard anything before that?
Eric B? From me?
That's the first, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first.
So somebody he knew told him.
Yeah, my man Alvin Tony.
Alvin told him.
This was kind of the story. He asked my man who was the nicest cat out there.
Yeah, I remember. I heard him tell this.
Yeah, and he brought him, you know, to the crib, and you know, the rest is history.
So
man.
he thought you were. There were people already, even from very young, who thought you were really nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they would tell you like, yo, you're really good. Like, this is really good.
No doubt.
But you had no plans on even pursuing.
Nah, I didn't think it was. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was that good, and worth pursuing.
Do you remember the first time you then heard Eric B as president on the radio?
No doubt.
Wait, Eric B for president is the record you made?
Yeah.
And My Melody on the B-side. You put My Melody on the B-side, correct?
Right.
So you kept My Melody. You went Eric B for president, or Eric B as president.
Is it true you recorded My Melody sitting on the couch?
Just like this. And it was funny because Marley Marl kept going.
The mic.
Marley Marl kept saying, yo, Ross, stand up, man. Give me, you know, I need a little more energy. I said, yo, if I stand up, it's going to sound the same way, man. Shit, don't matter, man. And, he looked at me. He was like, all right. So we did a couple more takes, and it was the same shit. Turn up the bass. I got I had a crazy nasal tone. Turn up the bass. I got my melody hand out. I said, "Gone, man." He was like, "Yo, man, you sure you don't want to stand up?" I was like, "No, I'm good, man." So
but you were how old? 18?
17. Word up. So MC Shan comes to the joint.
Okay, of course he did.
So he was like, "Yo, Shan, take over the session and shit." So Shan come in. Press record. I start rhyming. Turn up the bass. Check out my melody. Shan hit stop, and I guess Marley already told him, "Yo, try to get him to rhyme." So Shan hit stop, turn around. He said, "Yo, Lord, yo, God, won't you stand up and you know what I mean?" I was like, "Yo, Shan, man, Marley already tried that, man." I said, "Yo, this is it, man. This is it, man." I said, "Yo, it ain't that I'm sleepy or high, man. This is the way I rhyme, man." So you know, we went through it a couple more times, man, but I stuck to my guns and did what I did. And long story short, we did a show after the song dropped with Juice Crew, and I'm walking up to the back door. I see MC Shan, Magic, Allah Bless the Dead, and Marley. So I'm walking up to the door, and I see him. They was like, "Yo, God, we get it, man. We get it now, man." You know what I mean? After it came out, and it kind of did what it did, but. You know, I'm glad I stuck to my guns.
Which one took off first, My Melody or Eric B's president?
I think I think the president kind of
that
moved
That's the
more. First one I heard. And
you heard Marley play it first or Magic?
Actually, Teddy Ted Special K.
Oh, shout out to the Awesome
Wow.
2.
Wow.
They were the first ones you heard play.
No doubt.
And did it say, now is this the moment in which you go, oh, I actually may be an MC. Maybe I'm not a football player. Maybe I'm an MC.
Yeah, it kind of started resonating at that point, man. And, you could see I stopped growing. And it would have been rough out there, 5'8", trying to be a quarterback.
Are you really 5'8"?
About 5'8", 5'9".
That really speaks to, first of all, okay, here's the difference. I'm close to 5'8", 5'7", 3/4", whatever I am, 5'8". And I am one kind of man. You are 5'8", and you are a different kind of man. I've never thought of you as being 5'8". Like, I'm thought of as short. You're not thought of as short. Because he's a god. Because he's the god MC, the 18th.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Oh, that's so crazy. All right, so how crazy does the record go in New York?
Yo, it was... I mean,
talking to that mic, Rakim. I never thought I'd have to say that to Rakim, but
it shocked me, man. I didn't expect to do to do what it did.
You liked it when you did it, right? Or
yeah, but coming from Long Island, so far away from the game, you would think, I didn't know how the world in New York would take it, man.
Right.
I'm a humble dude, man. To this day, what I mean? I try to stay humble and not let nothing get to me, but recognize my accolades and I respect that. But I ain't think it was gonna pop off like that. That's why I was like, yo, man, you can do the joint, man. I'm gonna go to college
And where'd you go? Where'd you end up going to school?
I wound up going to Ghetto USA.
No, I know that school.
University.
Which is?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, the record popped off so quick.
Oh, that you didn't go?
Yeah, I had to
But
drop out of high
for
school.
The record?
I had to drop out of high school.
Oh, you were senior? You were a senior?
Yeah.
Just like my senior year, Saif. I was popping that year.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Did he pay you to feature on the record?
Yeah, no doubt. We got paid. We split everything down the middle from the rep.
And then,
and who was who did the original version was on which label again?
Zakia,
of course, Zakia Records. That's the original version.
Yes,
and then you ended up, that was a single deal.
Oh yeah.
And then you signed with 4th and Broadway.
Yeah, kind of moved over to 4th after that.
And who brought you to 4th and Broadway? Why that?
It was like a merger, because my man from Zakia kind of set that up with 4th and Broadway. I guess he seen that it was.
Probably bigger than what he expected.
Yeah, and passed it off to them, which was a good move, because we went from there to MCA, 4th and Broadway, which is MCA, but we went to Universal after that and kind of moved up. But
but you did always stay. Are there some people who always stayed involved in this from the beginning, from 4th and Broadway to MCA to Universal?
Nah, it kind of changed as it went on. 4th and Broadway, I think we did the single with them, and then I think the first album was Universal, Paid in Full. But again, man, it kind of pushed us along. Once we got in 4th and Broadway, it kind of opened everybody's ears up, and we kind of moved up in MCA.
Saif, I'm going to do something crazy we don't ever do on Juan Epstein, but in fear of at some point he's going to have to leave and we don't get to it, I want to throw this out. Way down the road, we're jumping way down the road, and I don't want to skip all this stuff, but at some point you've been gone for a while, and it was like Rakim's going to come out with Dre. Right. That's going to happen.
Hey, you jumped.
I know I jumped, but it's important because I jumped way ahead. But
I get it. I get it.
Rakim's gonna come out with Dre.
Yeah.
I buy a fucking bootleg. There were many of them. New York to Cali.
Right.
From New York to Cali. Dope fucking record. Right. There are these Dre records that supposedly exist between Rakim and Dre. What actually happened? Was that ever actually going to happen?
Yeah, I went out there, was working with him and everything, and got a little timely, and Dre had a lot going on, and after a while, I was like, Dre, look, man, I've been out here for a while, bro. Now
this is unusual to hear, Rakim, because you are generally known as the one who's slow, and I say that with all due respect as the greatest of all time. But you are generally known as the one who might not, might be a little late. It might take you a minute.
Yeah, but
it was Dre. You're saying,
and that's funny. And not not to put it all on Dre, but he had a lot on his plate, I guess, man. And
this is around 94. Around there?
Nah, this is 2001.
Oh, this is that much later.
2002.
But I was hearing this in the 90s even that this was happening.
I think that's when he first mentioned it. He first mentioned something in like the late 90s.
Okay.
They asked him who would he like to work with.
Yes,
He said
I heard
Rakim.
that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Not 94 though.
Hold on. Do you remember the record New York to Cali?
Yeah.
Was that a Dre record or no?
Nah.
It was not.
That was something that a joint I was working on that didn't make the album.
Okay.
Kind of put it out later on. But yeah.
And so this is after the album Book of Life.
Yeah.
Okay, this is after that.
Yeah.
So you were out there.
Yeah.
And the process was just slow.
Yeah, man. You know, he had a couple people on the label, and again, a bunch on his plate. So it got to the point I was like, "Look, Dre, man, I appreciate, man, the opportunity and all that, man." I said, "But listen, man, I'm gonna go back to New York," and he was like, "Rob, man, you know, give me a little more time." You know, that's why I knew it was, you know, he had a lot on his plate or whatever, man. But gave him a little more time. It still ain't work out, man. I came back and kind of started over, man. But big up to Dre, man, and good luck with everything in the future, man.
So there was no hard feelings. You just didn't.
Not at all, man. He did some good
Dre's
things.
a billionaire, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
It worked
All
out.
day.
It worked
He
out.
said, "Good luck to Dre." He's
listen.
a billionaire.
No. You know,
It worked out for him.
Things happen every day, man.
Right.
Things happen every day.
Luck doesn't straight
But
things
there
up.
are Rakim Dre records somewhere.
Yeah, there's a few.
How many did you guys get done?
But the thing is you know, me and Dre may have only did a couple, but there was some other producers.
Battle Cat, people like that.
Nah.
The all them
Mel
Dre
Man.
dudes. Mel
That's
Man,
what I mean.
Power.
Mel Man, Battle
I didn't
Cat.
get a chance to work with Mel Man.
Scott Storch.
It was a bunch going on. Scott was.
Doing the Dre.
Yeah, that was kind of like around the time where they kind of split up. So
Oh, got it.
Scott was at the studio a couple times. We kicked it, and we was like, "Yeah, you know, I can't wait to." And
Yeah.
I ain't see Scott no more.
Another very important question that takes us back a little bit. The "What's on Your Mind" story. Is that a real story, or is it just a straight up fantasy story? You're on a train.
Yo, you're
Sorry, it's Rakim.
Go introduce Red and Meth.
Go introduce Red and Meth. I'll be here.
Don't ask me 85% questions.
5% questions
Yeah, I
are
got-
all you. All right, hurry up, though,
all
please.
right.
Hurry up. All right, so, yeah, what's on your mind? Is that
Yeah.
just a straight up fantasy story? What's up with that?
Yeah, that's artistry, man. That's what we used to call lady songs. You know what I mean? Songs for the ladies, things like that. But that mahogany, you know, all, you know, it's some of it's how I feel. You know, let the rhythm hit him. I said before I let this Fifi I get. Fifi is actually my wife's name. So it's hidden truths, you know what I mean, inside and out, but most of it's artistry.
How long have you been with your wife?
Since ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Wow, that is when I was with my ex-girlfriend in ninth grade.
Your ex-girlfriend.
And we had a hell of a run. We made it till we were 20, which is a pretty good run.
No doubt.
This is more impressive, though. You're talking about
thank you,
30.
man.
You're talking about 30 years.
30-something. Well,
30-something
like she remind me all the time. 30-something. 30-something. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Well,
man.
black don't crack. You guys look fantastic.
Thank
you wouldn't even
man.
know it was 30 something.
Thank you, baby.
So I don't want to get completely lost here. What's your favorite one, man? They're
favorite song.
The favorite one, man. I think over the years, recently, I'll give you a second to jog your thoughts. Recently, for me, and by that I mean the last 10 years or so, I feel like my favorite has become I Ain't No Joke. I don't know why. I don't know if it's from a DJ standpoint. I love cutting it up like it's a good record to bring in. The first video I remember is Microphone Fiend with you kicking over the letters and shit. But I Ain't No Joke has become one that I... But at the same time, if someone put a gun to my head and was like, what's the best Eric B. and Rakim song or Rakim song of all time, I might end up saying Know the Ledge, which is the Juice soundtrack.
Yeah,
but which one for you is the one that stands out the most?
It's funny, man, because like myself, I like songs that people probably never even heard.
Believe me, I heard it. What is it?
I like the joints like Punisher. Lyrics of Fury was my favorite too for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it became it's funny, but the 18th letter and
Saga Begins?
that's a good one too.
When I'm Flowing?
Pete Rock, that's my dude. On that Saga
It's been a
Begins.
long time.
But yeah,
guess who's back? I mean,
and then I'm gonna have to say, Know the Ledge, man. You know what I mean? That joint right there. it just worked out perfect. You know what I mean, it was funny. They called me up and told me about the movie. They let me sit down and watch the movie before it came out. They let me know they wanted me to do the soundtrack. So I went and checked the movie out, which was dope. And I had put this record aside maybe 4 or 5 days before that, the bass line to Know the Ledge.
You had found the bass line?
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I put it to the side, not knowing, what I was going to do with it, but I know it sound dope. Like, let me put this to the side. Went and seen the movie, came back home, went straight in the little pre-production room I had at the time. And the first thing I did, I had a stack leaning on the speakers, and the first record that I pulled out was that bass line. I put it on, doom, 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 doom. It's crazy. I said, yo, this is it right here, man. Added a couple things to it, and everything just worked out perfect.
So you produced Know the Ledge?
Yeah, no doubt.
How proud are you of that? Because that has to mean a little extra, too. I mean, you have great records that Marley did, but it's different when you did it yourself.
Exactly, man. And, again, I played the drums on that joint, and it was kind of like, something that I kind of started from scratch, man. And the way everything just popped off, it was like perfect. Sometimes when you're doing a record, you might have a vision or, a certain sound that you're trying to create, and you might not get there, but you get close. I'm not saying that Juice was perfect, but it just everything worked out perfect. Like I looped the beat up right quick in the crib. I was in this little tiny room. Wifey kept cracking the door open on me, but I wrote 2 verses to it. Went to the studio, laid the 2 verses down, played the drums, took it back home, wrote the other 2 verses, came back in, and the rest is history, man. But the energy I got from that movie, man, and just the feeling of it, and I had a feeling it was going, resonate big in hip-hop, man. So I kind of, used that energy, and that's what came out.
Did you like Ghostface's version? Did you ever hear?
No doubt. That's my dude.
Ghost is back?
Yeah, that's my
Yeah, you
man.
and Ghost have to like each other. I couldn't imagine you not getting along.
I mean, I love Ghost, man. I mean, he one of the cats that keep it so hip-hop, man. I respect him big time.
Hold on 1 second in the middle of this incredible Rakim episode of Juan Epstein. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Bevel. Yes, getbevel.com/Juan. We have a hookup for you, an incredible deal. The first month free, a razor that will change the way you shave. If you have coarse or curly hair, if you have sensitive skin, if you get razor bumps, if you've been struggling with shaving in any way, Bevel will change your life. And on top of that, they help make the Juan Epstein podcast possible. So if you're enjoying this incredible Juan Ep episode, I'll say it is incredible. And if you want to keep this podcast going, and on top of that, you're already looking for an amazing razor and trying to get your life together, get yourself looking clean, get your neck clean, get rid of these razor bumps, get your sensitive skin feeling right, just go to getbevel.com/Juan. Head over there right now, getbevel.com/JUAN, and your first month will be free. This is a new way of shaving that will change your life. Plus, Nas is an investor in the company, so you know it's legit. Now back to Juan Ep with Rakim. Thanks, Bevel. So let's take a moment to talk about that. The people, you've continued to be a fan. This is your culture. I mean, it may be weird for us to understand because you help create the culture and you're the flag bearer and the standard, but you're a fan of it.
Yes, sir.
So I want to throw some names at you and tell me any interaction you had with these people and what it was like with you.
Okay.
And I'll start with Biggie Smalls. Did you and Biggie have much interaction?
Yeah, man. A couple times, not much, but I remember the first time I seen Biggie. I was in Cali. I was taking my son. It's funny, man. I was taking my son to see Jimmy Iovine. This is when Time Warner was trying to cut ties with Jimmy Iovine's label because of all of the
controversy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to hire some young artists, and heard my son can rhyme. My oldest son, Talmel, had him rhyming since he was like 4 years old. So I take my son out there to see Jimmy Iovine. Later on that night, I think I was taking my son to the movies, and I'm walking through the lobby. I look over. I see about 5, 6 cats. I could tell it was New York, but I ain't see Big yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I could tell it was New York. I'm in Cali. I could tell it was New York. But I look. I'm like, all right, New York in the building. I look back. Big had his back turned. I look again. I'm like, yo, hold up, man. Yeah, this is New York. That's big right there, you know what I mean? And as I'm looking, my son, when I look back, my son damn near out in the street. Yo, so I called my son back, and as I'm doing that, big turn around. Then he was like, yo, peace, man, boom, boom, boom. Went over, gave him a pound. We exchanged respect.
What did he react like to see you, though? Because the same way you're my hero, you are Biggie's hero.
Wow.
And even though Biggie's all of our hero,
wow.
It's crazy to think about. He's younger than you.
Wow.
He looked up to you. So
wow.
what
I didn't know that.
I mean, like, what did it feel like? Do you remember? Did it feel like someone who admired you?
Oh,
like,
no doubt. And I didn't expect that because again, man, I'm a humble dude, man. I try to, take it as it come, man. But you know what I mean? When I look back, he was like, yo, peace, baby, boom, boom, boom. I walked over, I felt nothing but love. He let me know how much he appreciated what I did for hip hop and all that. Asked me what I was doing. Told him I was, out there seeing Jimmy. So we kicked it for a quick minute, man, and I bounced off, man. But yeah, man, I definitely felt the love, and I'm sure he felt, the mutual respect from me as well.
Did you have now? Speaking of Juice, did you have any interaction with Tupac?
Yeah, we met a couple times, man. It's funny. The first time I met Pac was back in the day. We was on tour in Florida, and we pulling into the arena, and there's some cats standing out there with this big Rakim poster. So we stopped. And we opened the door up, and it was Digital Underground before they popped off. My man Hump had drew the picture. It's crazy. It was a picture of me laying on like
Humpty Hump, Shock G, whichever
Shock
version
G.
it was.
Well, you know what I mean? My man Shock, he drew a mad piece, man. Big up Shock.
He did actual artwork and drew a
no
picture.
Doubt. Crazy too. I still got it in my studio to this day, man.
Wow,
to
really?
This day. Word up. And this was '89.
Okay, yeah. When they first started popping.
Word up. You know
like this
I mean?
is like Do What You Like. Yeah,
Word
yeah.
is born. Just before that. You know
okay.
what I mean? Because after the joint came out and I was like, oh, okay, that's bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But dope artists, man, and I seen them that day. I extended the love, got them passes, introduced them. I'm sure they probably knew, mad people already, but I made sure I got them passes, bought them in the joint.
Just out of respect, because you love that they drew a picture of you, they just showed love.
Yes, sir. Yes,
got it. Okay. And Pac was there then.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then did you get to meet him around Juice also?
We met again. I didn't meet him for the Juice joint. I met him like a little couple years before that. And then we used to speak on the phone through a mutual friend when he was in the studio. He used to call my crib.
What would he say to you? What would he call you about?
First time he called, it was just, yo, Rob, man, what's going on, man? You know what I mean? Yo, I'm up in the studio. I was like, Pac, peace, man. Just the what's good rhetoric, man. You know what I mean? But he was up there doing his thing. And we just spoke for a brief minute. I told him, do your thing. And I was like, yo, we got to get in the studio together. And every time we see each other or speak to each other, because we spoke more than we seen each other. But it was just that love, man. I knew, what he stood for and what he was, trying to do, man. I love, the conscious movement. I love MCs that was bringing that, man. So I had, nothing but respect for Pac.
And let's keep going. What's your relationship with Hove?
Oh, Hove, man. I don't hang out with too many cats, man. As far as entertainers, man. But Hove is one of the cats I got a lot of respect for, man. Watching where I came from with hip hop. It was lucrative. It was lucrative then, man. But watching, how I grew and how he, did his thing, man. Not only in business, man, but on wax, man. I think Hove is one of the dopest songwriters to this day, man. You know what I mean? And met Hove a few times, and it's just none but respect, man.
So let me ask this. I don't know how to ask this in a way that makes sense or is appropriate, but Hove, we all know, is richer than God, right? Like
yes,
Hove is it's him and Beyonce. They are
no doubt.
They are different level.
No doubt.
You've obviously done well for yourself, but your biggest wealth is in who you are and what people
Yes,
think
sir.
of you.
Yes, sir. I'm nowhere near rich. Don't
Exactly.
Don't get it twisted.
You are somewhat a regular guy financially,
Right.
even though you're not a regular guy in the way we see you.
Thank you.
So what is it like when you have an interaction with someone like Hove, who when you're, at one point, he obviously admires you, but at the same time, you're like, you couldn't even imagine the life that Hove lives,
Right.
even though he lives it partially because of you.
Well, it goes around, man. Because I remember when I came out, me and Eric B had the first $1 million record contract, and when I came out,
This is your second contract.
Yeah, when we signed the first album deal.
Oh, with Fourth and Broadway?
No, excuse me, with
MCA, Universal.
Yeah, you know
okay.
what I mean? But we was living, pretty good
large.
at that time.
Pretty,
yeah, you know what I mean?
The time, it was large.
And, you pulling up in your things, and you got your things on, and you got, it's the same thing, I guess, that the people before me felt when that time was present.
Of course.
So, you know what I mean? I get it, and it don't bother me at all, man. Like, it never, crossed my mind. Like, and on that note, like, I'm a big sports fan, and it's the same thing that happened to them. Some of the, players back in the day that was trendsetters and trailblazers, for some of the contracts that the players is getting now.
Barry Sanders didn't even make what Todd Gurley makes, right? It's not
exactly.
even. And Barry Sanders is one of the greatest. Todd Gurley's a nice running back.
Nice,
he's not Barry Sanders
at all.
And
not yet.
Not yet.
Big up, T. Yeah, I mean, you next, baby.
Yeah, listen.
But, you know what I mean?
Hopefully, it doesn't run all over your Giants. Are you Giants?
Yeah, all day, man.
Hopefully, it doesn't run all over your Giants tomorrow.
Yeah, man. And I got to get up early for that one.
Early, I know. We'll wrap up soon, so I know you.
Don't worry about it. I got to just stay up and not go to sleep to catch that one.
Yeah, I'm a Redskins fan, so I want to get up and watch it tomorrow and see what happens too.
Yes, sir.
But what about Eminem?
Man, it's funny. I just played the freestyle he did last night. Well, he didn't do the freestyle last night. I just played it in my crib.
His new record, yeah.
M is a beast, man. You know what I mean? I respect M. And again, man, he's still on fire. He did a little joint where he was dissing Trump. And he said something about what's her name? Querum from ESPN.
Molly Karam.
Right.
Molly
Karam,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And yeah, M is a beast, man.
Has he ever reached out to you? Have you guys talked? Have you and M met?
Yeah.
Did he shout you out in his Oscar speech?
Yes, sir.
He shouted you. And have you guys met?
Yeah, we met a few times back when I was out there with Dre. We did a couple magazines together too. You know what I mean?
You never
sat in the studio.
Have you ever rapped in the same room or no?
Nah.
Is he one that sort of blew your mind as far as where he went with the same way we talked about? You didn't have someone to base it off of. Did you see him and go, "How did Eminem get to this place?"
No doubt, man. Because he M. He made the right choices in what he did, man. Not only is he nice, but he made choices where we couldn't get mad and couldn't deny him of what he was doing. You know what I mean? He didn't try to be nothing, that he wasn't. He let us know who he was off the rip, man. And at the end of the day, it's a crazy talent, man. And, do you
consider him? You consider him the names we just mentioned: Biggie, Tupac, Hove, and Eminem.
That's where y'all went?
That's where we went. That's where I decided to go. Are all four of those names that you think about in your top 10? Do you think about a top 10? You're so many people's number one. Or
I don't. I like so many different artists for different things. I never really, categorize, top 5 or top 10. None of that, man. I was just talking to Billy and Dance. Like, those is two of my favorite MCs all the time.
Dance, yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? And again, I got crazy respect for Hove. I got mad respect for Ghost. It's like, I love and I'm a fan of hip-hop so much. And knowing how difficult it is to rate talent and artists when they don't do the same thing, you know what I mean? I don't try it. Yeah, I don't try it. I just appreciate, what I like. And
have you spent time with Kendrick Lamar's music?
Yeah, no doubt.
What are your thoughts on Kendrick?
Kendrick is nice too, man. And to be a young cat and to still have some of the traits that lyricist love, man. You know, I respect that, man. You know, and word up, big up my dude. Keep doing what you do. I love to hear young cats spit fire. Word up.
Now, Syfe, here's where we went. We talked about how he feels about some of the greats of all time, interactions he's had with them.
Okay.
I asked about what's on your mind. We talked about the history of Know the Ledge.
Okay.
We didn't have any 5% talk.
All right.
We didn't talk about
None of that yet, bro.
We didn't talk about album cuts off of Paid in Full or Follow the Leader. So wherever you want to jump in.
I did a when I was A&R, and there was an engineer. His name was Eli.
Yeah, Eli Two-Ball.
Who you shouted out. Rakim shouted him out on record, I believe.
And I was like, a couple days, we were working with him a couple days. It was like, Eli. And I was like, yo, there's no way he was like, yeah. I was like, holy shit. Like, and Cara Lewis was Nina Sky's agent.
That's right.
So it was like, I felt connected to Rakim in a way that nobody else could, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of people have had Cara Lewis.
Just a little, I just want to delve into a little bit because you, Wu-Tang, and the 90s, you know, Poor Righteous Teachers, what led me into the path of gaining knowledge. Like, how did you get into it?
It's kind of like at first I remember being a young kid, me and my man was walking to the park. And try to make a long story short, we walked to this park. There was this brother out there that was kind of stranded, and he needed some money to get back where he was going. And he stopped me and my man, and we mad younger than him, you know what I mean? But he was like, yo, my man's, you know, I'm out here, you know, I live in such and such, I'm trying to get back home, I ain't got no money. And me and my mans, we got candy money in our pocket. We got candy money in our pockets.
Like a couple bucks.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, we looking at this dude like, I know this dude don't think he going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yo, he seemed so sincere, and he started speaking, and me and my man looked at him, and after he finished talking, look, yo, I got $1. You got $1 for me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Gave him some money because he was so sincere in what he was saying. We believe he ain't had no money.
Right.
So we made sure, you know, we gave him enough to get back home. Years later, I found out that he was righteous. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When the guards came in Wyandanch High School and started speaking, I remember sitting there like, that dude was talking back in the day. You know what I mean? Because it was scarce in Long Island at that time. But from that to hearing a couple guards building in the school, you know, I knew that was for me. And you know, I quickly stepped in the cipher and just started, you know, paying attention. Walked right to, you know, one of the head guards at the time and said, yo, I need knowledge of self, man. And, you know, the rest was history, man. And that was like late 85, just before the winter.
Late 85.
Just before.
And you come out in 86. And you end up coming out in 86.
Word up.
My Melody.
You understand how crazy of a year that is to get knowledge.
No doubt.
Why is that, Syfe?
Because the 85% is like the
85.
Dumb, deaf, and blind.
Right. So you become in 5% 85.
85. And you know what I mean?
Crazy.
It definitely, you know, helped me a lot, man. Before that, you know, not to be on no, you know, I was a little gangster, but, you know, I had gun charges since I was 12. You know, wifey, she was with me since I was 11. She'd tell you, that's my son right there. I had gun charges since I was 12. So, no, I know I needed something. To, you know, calm me down, man. Just before that, I thought it was Zulu. And shortly after that, luckily, I heard one of the guards building in the hallway. World is bone. Yeah. I needed something to, you know, slow me down, and you know, it was.
It saved my life.
It was perfect. Word up, man.
Not. I wasn't in no street shit at all. I was just doing nothing. I was like just blind, watching TV, doing nothing,
right.
And listening to what I liked is I learned it in music form, so it all kind of like made me obviously who I am today.
Yes, sir.
So you know, thank you for helping me in an indirect way.
Oh, no doubt,
where do you rank Rakim among the artists who drop 5% lines in music? Not at the top.
Not as high.
Who's the highest?
His shit, Brand Nubian's the highest.
Oh, Brand Nubian's the highest.
Brand Nubian was like everything they said. Everything.
It was straight mathematics.
But Rakim's was so slick.
Right.
It was in there. You had to already have
knowledge of self.
A little okay, you listen to a Rakim song and then years later you get knowledge and you listen to it again and you're like, oh.
Tell me a line. Tell me a Rakim
like the
line.
7 MCs.
Okay, I don't know what
That's the God number. Like it had to be relevant
Right.
in some way. You know what I'm saying?
Word up.
So like it'd be little, and in the ghetto there's like little slick.
Word up. Like my thing was at that time, it wasn't too many. You know, it wasn't nobody doing it at the time. And with respect for the culture, I wanted to make sure that I was doing it where people didn't feel I was trying to rob the culture. So I would never quote a degree word for word. I would only speak on understanding that I had and that found its way to the paper. You know what I mean? And
Crazy.
Word up. But,
how was there over the years? There's been some things said about the relationship between you and Kane.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are sort of 1 and 1A.
Eric B's.
Yeah.
Eric B's brother was his road manager, right? So there was
yeah,
always
right.
there
was a connection, and you were the number one guy. Kane was clearly right there.
No doubt.
You know, I mean, Kane is he's right there.
Yes, sir.
So let's start with what the relationship used to be like. Did you have a relationship with Kane in those days?
We met each other a couple times. I remember we met at this I think it was a Def Jam party, and I think him and Biz joint had just came out.
Just Rhyme with Biz.
Yeah, and
arguably the most sampled rap song in history.
definitely by Pete Rock.
Certainly by Pete Rock, who's here today.
He probably bought Kane a house.
He used it on your records, I think, too. On Saga Begins. Yeah.
Word up, man.
He might be on there.
And we met at a Def Jam party. You know what I mean? Kicked it a little bit, said what's up. And then after that, you know, we might see each other for a quick minute, but we ain't, you know, really speak much. And you know, then the silly shit started happening, where, you know, I thought Kane was popping off, and I guess people was telling him I was popping off too.
You know how them Brooklyn niggas do.
That's what they would say. That's what they would say.
Word up. So I went and recorded "Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em," and I think at the end of the first verse I said something to Kane, and I remember sitting at the crib, and Eric B. brother, and which is very sick right now too, man. I want to send him some love. He out in Vegas in the hospital, man. Hope you get better, my brother, if you listening, man. But and Live called me up. He was like, "Yo, Rob, man, Kane want to talk to you." I was like, "Yo, Ant, don't put him up." Kane's like, "Yo, Rob, I just want to, you know, holler, man." But, you know, we kicked it for a minute. He was like, "Rob, listen, man. Ant just played me the record." And he said, "You know, I want to let you know, it ain't no beef. You know, people be trying to gas the situation and things like that." But he was like, "You know, it ain't no beef, bang, bang, bang." So I went back and took his name, you know, and everything off the joint. But, you know, coming up, you know, again, man, I try to be humble as possible. But Kane, you know, was one of the MCs that was a problem.
Because he was that good.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So it was all was it all rap? It was just
straight rap.
Yeah.
Rap.
Y'all both being too good at the same time.
Word is born. And you know what I mean? Being young and
so different.
That too. Word up. So, you know, being young and cocky, you know, I used to kind of look at him, you know, out the side eye a little bit. You know what I mean? But you know, recently, man, like, you know,
y'all must have done 1 million shows at this point.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And, you know, like you know, a couple years ago, man, we sat down, man, and, you know, I got the utmost respect for Kane, man, and you know, we kick it down on a mature level, man. Just like EPMD, you know, when I see them now, you know, I got the utmost respect for them.
Was it at some point not good with EPMD?
And back then, it wasn't really good with too much of nobody, man.
Really? Outside your own crew?
It wasn't a problem. It was just testosterone, man. You know what I mean?
A lot
just
of that.
Being young and just...
Were you... I mean, I don't know how to... You weren't very social, like, you didn't really hang out much, right? Like...
Yeah, you know, I tried to stay, you know, clear of a lot of industry things.
Because he wasn't part of no... Like, you could have easily been in the Juice crew through the Eric B. Marley connect. But you weren't down with any crew. You were just Eric B. and Rakim. And really, Eric B. seemed like he was down with all them people. So it was really just Rakim.
Right. You were kind of on your own. And do you think that was part of it? People thought you wanted to be on an island. Did people think you thought you were better than them?
I hope not, man, because it wasn't really about that. It was more like me just trying to like stay normal and keep my sanity. You know what I mean? Like,
makes sense.
Yeah, I never wanted to appear better than nobody. No, you know what I mean? Again, if anything, it was just, young, egotistical MC, you know what I mean? Knowing that, I was kind of doing my thing. But, and even more than that, I think that was hip hop then, man. It was, chest out, it wasn't as friendly as far as a lot of groups, collabing, that kind of came after that era.
Yeah. Why no? Were you asked to be on
Self-Destruction?
Wow, y'all been doing a little homework.
Oh, we do this.
We do this a little bit. We've been doing
What
this.
else you got?
No, we don't have this. Is
Nothing. That's all here. That's all here.
Yeah, because
we don't write any of this down. This is just shit we want to know. We want to know.
But that's a good question, man, because I felt the way. I ain't gonna front. I felt the way.
Well, you weren't asked?
Yeah, you know what I mean. And
I
felt
thought you.
No. Well, the Kane story is that Kane wasn't in it, but that he showed up to the video, but he wasn't on the song.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'd never heard about whether. How did that happen?
I think Eric mentioned it in something.
Well, how did you ever ask or
Nah,
talk to KRS about it or?
Let's call D Nice.
Nah. I kind of just I had to let it go. I wasn't on no like you're supposed to call me or whatever. I just I definitely felt the way, man. But that was KRS record, and that was another MC back in the day. Like Kane.
Yeah, he's on there. He's
you know
up
what
there.
I mean? It's it wasn't no disrespect back then, but I could tell that there was a little tension like between me, Kane, me, KRS, and a couple cats, just because
G-Rap?
we was now me and G-Rap, I took G-Rap on tour with me early in the game. That's my little brother. You know what I mean? Like I never felt nothing from him. You know what I mean? Like
Because it's always the talk is always Kane,
Yeah.
KRS,
G-Rap.
Rakim. Like
Those are the core
that's
four.
that era that changed everything.
The way people rap. Yeah. There's no
big up G-Rap too.
There's
man.
there's no Big Pun and there's no Eminem without G-Rap. I mean that's sort of the way that went. Did you ever meet Pun?
Yeah, no doubt. I met Pun at the Apollo, man, and it was crazy. That's the first day I met DMX too, and we all met at the same time. And I just remember telling both of them like, "Yo, man, I got mad respect for y'all. Keep rocking." And hopefully we can get at it in the future, man. Word up.
I gotta ask you, this has got to be crazy. You got to be around. I'm not going to ask your exact age, but you got to be around 50, right?
Not yet.
Damn. Hip hop age is slow. You're still not 50.
Not yet, man.
God damn.
40 something. I'm in the high 40s though, baby.
47 not bad, yo.
All right, so here's the thing. You're in the high
47
40s.
not
All
bad.
right, yeah,
Good.
it's
Five-
good,
you're in the
man.
high
I'm
40s.
real close to that, man.
So you're in the high 40s.
Yeah.
You started popping when you were 17, 18 years old. You've been thought of as like the best in the game since your mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to ask this in a way you can answer, but like you've been thought of as like a sort of godlike character more than you were ever thought of as a regular person. That's fucking weird. Like
crazy.
you're a regular dude, right? Like you got a
real
wife.
regular, though. Like,
you
I'm
go
real
to the
regular.
bathroom. You're a regular guy.
Real regular, man.
But people like us who are pretty accomplished in our own ways freak out when we
That's
meet you.
Yo, man, it's
So
a blessing, man.
how do you compartmentalize it though to stay normal so you don't get gassed? Because you've never Rakim, since the second I met you, when I first got up here, you've been nothing but kind and regular every time. You knew
All
my
day.
name after a couple of years. You've
No
always
doubt.
been a really
I
regular
told you,
guy.
Man, when y'all was popping off with that real shit, man, we was tuning in, and we had hope. We had hope, man. You know what I mean?
We ultimately failed you.
We
I mean,
had hope,
the game
baby.
is still struggling. But how do you compartmentalize it and not become a dickhead? I mean, there are people much less accomplished than you who become dickheads, and you've become this. You're still this regular guy. How do you do that?
I think moms and pops, brought me up good, man. My pops is my hero, and my mom, she always, stayed in my face, stayed in my ear. And, I just, appreciated them so much and respected them so much. I always wanted to impress, man. And it just kind of, rubbed off. I had kids at a young age, so I had to.
How many kids do you have, bro?
I got 4, man. And, I had to.
How many here tonight?
2.
Just 2 of y'all tonight?
That's my youngest son, Jabbar, right there.
Okay, Jabbar. Jabbar, I know you.
My daughter somewhere. And my daughter.
What
all right, no doubt.
Yeah, were your parents around to see?
Yeah, they
success and
my father passed in '88.
Oh, so he just
he
caught some of it.
He caught some of it.
Yeah, man.
But he didn't know that you became the greatest of all time.
Nah, I don't think so.
But he saw that you were big. He saw that you popped off, though.
One of my dope memories of chilling with Pops and sharing that moment with him was at Nassau Coliseum. And
of course, he came to the Long Island show.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean,
He wasn't going to the Garden. He was not going to the Garden.
Yeah, I mean,
he go to Nassau.
But that's crazy. Mom and Pop was from Brooklyn, man. So
really?
it was never no issue with that. But
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I just remember going up the side. They used to have these little steps on the side of the stage, and I just remember every time I went to the left side, my Pops was right there, man, and kept looking him in his face. So, like. Am I doing my thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it was a beautiful feeling, man. He passed in '88.
Did it throw you off? He passes right in your prime. Was that tough?
Yeah,
How tough was that?
Man. It crushed me, man. I kind of didn't want to do nothing for a long time.
And he must have been relatively young because you were young in '88. You were in your mid-20s.
No, but he's the youngest of 5, remember?
But you're the youngest of 5. So what was your dad, in his late 60s maybe?
He's 58.
Oh, so he was still young.
Yeah,
he was young.
Hold up. And it crushed me, man. And it's hard to get back on the horse, man. But like my Pops was so influential in all of us being a part of music. He managed my older brother, Ronnie, until he took off. My older brother played with Mighty Sparrow. Remember Mighty Sparrow back in the day? From there to Orange Crush Band to going on tour with Curtis Blow, and he did so many other things. My Pops was influential in that. So knowing that, he liked us being involved in music, after a while, time healed a little bit. And I met this kid named little high right now.
It's all right. It's been a long night.
My man C that did some joints on my album.
Okay.
Lost Professors people.
Paul C.
Paul C. Excuse me,
No,
Paul, man.
okay.
Paul, man. Excuse me, baby. Respect,
Paul
baby.
C, yeah.
But yeah, I met Paul C.
By the way, you see how respectful Rakim is that he's being that respectful to a man who's been deceased for a very long
Yeah,
time.
he
And he
can
still
hear
wants to
us,
get his
man,
name right.
Big respect, man.
Of course, the legend Paul
yeah,
C.
man. And it was crazy because I'm good. It was crazy because I haven't wrote in a while, and I met his girlfriend through somebody that lived in Wyandanch, and she was like, "Yo, my husband make beats." So I was like, "All right," I didn't think it was what I was gonna hear. But I was like, "All right, well, if you can get them some tracks to me from them, I'll see what's up." Long story short, he sent some tracks out. They was dope. I went to his crib, played me some heat, and then he gave me Ghetto. And that's the first thing I wrote since my past pops.
Paul C did that beat?
Yeah.
Paul C did that as the first
Paul C
thing you did
That's
since
the
your
first
pops
thing
passed away.
Wrote up. First thing I penned since
Ooh.
he passed. And
That's a good one.
yeah, it I kind of, again, man, knowing that he would have wanted me to do my thing. And I felt that the song was right. It had that feel on it. And that's why I threw it. I'm glad I listened when my father was rapping to me, joining there, man. But yeah, man, that was my hero, man.
Do you feel the need to put out more albums? Do you want to add to what you've done? I mean, I want to say this right now while I have you here. The 18th Letter is, in my opinion, one of the most slept on rap albums in history.
Thank you.
I know it ended up, I think it went platinum eventually.
Yeah.
But it was...
It crept along.
It crept along.
Yes, sir.
But I remember at the time there were people who were disappointed. And for me, It's just such a thorough album. It's different.
Word up.
Oh, there you go, Saif. Playing off the iPhone.
Original sample.
Wait, oh.
All right. 24 karat black.
So I thought 18th Letter was a beautiful piece of work.
Thanks.
Book of the next one. What was the next one with
Book of Life
with
yeah.
When I Be on the Mic on it?
Book of Life.
That was Book of Life. So but now it's been some time since you've made a record. Do you feel the need to make more, or do you feel like doing shows and playing the role you play is enough for you in the hip hop game at this point?
Nah, man. For the amount of love that I got for it, I definitely want to make another album.
Maybe Dre's ready.
What up, kid? But after Joyce was
Coco.
good.
What up, Coco?
No, Joyce.
Joyce and Jazzy? Sorry, I'm drunk. I'm sorry, I've had multiple drinks. Jazzy, Coco, I love them both. Jesus, they're good female DJs. Give me a goddamn break, okay?
Very good. Whoa.
Hi, Jazzy.
But yeah, man.
Oh, so you think you would want to make another album? Though?
Yeah, definitely, man. Like to this day, man. I mean, I love rhyming. I love writing. And to this day, I feel I got a lot more to say. And yeah, man.
What else?
I got too much.
What else can he say?
I know he said enough.
I got too much love for music, man. So I'm gonna sit down. I spoke to a few people, a couple producers, man, and if it's just for Rakim fans alone, man, I would love to kind of end the legacy off right. You know what I mean?
Even the way De La did it, another Long Island group.
Of course.
The way De La did it
what
recently, they did like a crowdfunding thing, right? Like a Kickstarter.
Yeah, Kickstarter joint.
And then they
it
made
did great. It did
more. They got a bigger budget than they've ever gotten from the fans.
And then it did well.
And then it goes directly to the fans and sold after that.
And then it sold, and then they were at the White House last night. Shout out to De La Soul. I think that's an amazing story as well.
Big up, y'all.
Last artist I want to ask you about. So I asked you this. I saw you backstage at Rock the Bells, and you already answered this, but I want to ask on Epstein. You did not write Summertime.
Nah.
Here it is, a groove, slightly transformed.
But that beat was yours, though, right?
Was the beat yours?
Well, we actually had sample. We used the same sample. We was gonna bring it out, but we never got a chance to do it after they did it.
I think I heard Eric tell the story that Eric told him that they had that sample or something. So maybe he was.
It was in his brain.
Yeah, maybe it was on his mind.
Do you know Fresh Prince?
Yeah. We did
That's
a
what
lot
you call him?
of shows
Fresh
back in
Prince?
the
If
day.
I'm talking to Rakim, I gotta call him Fresh Prince. He ain't Will Smith. We going back to Fresh Prince.
All right.
But you have a relationship with Will?
Yeah, we used to do Latin Quarter. Like I met him like early in, what was it, 86, 87 when what was it, Parents Just Don't Understand came out. I remember we did a show at the Latin Quarter together. And,
Did you think it was good? Like, did you? Because Parents Just Don't Understand was a straight up pop record.
Yeah,
I mean, it was,
you know what I mean. Like, I love Will Smith, man. But yeah, we thought that was like,
it was what it was.
I heard-
You thought it was what it was.
Yeah.
But I heard
you know
he
what
was super cool, though.
Oh, no doubt, man.
So,
And
like-
Jazzy Jeff, man, to this day,
the
that's
greatest
like
DJ of all
word
time,
is
in my
born,
opinion.
man. Like most, and to this day, man, I got nothing but respect for Jeff and for what Will did and managed to do with his career and take it to the next level. I'm not gonna front when I look at Fresh Prince and when I see Will on screen, I think hip hop.
Of course.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
It was.
You know what I mean?
100%.
That's where he came from, and it feel good that
And
somebody
he was 100% authentic, and
devoted
he
to
meant what he was doing. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was definitely
to
like.
this day, whenever I see him in a movie, I think hip hop. Man.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
word up, keep doing
Did you
your
ever
thing.
ghostwrite for anyone that we might not think of?
Nah, man, I was too,
Never ghostwrote?
Yeah, man, I was too stingy with
Selfish with the wrong.
Yeah, man, like
don't get them
I'm-
Rakim bars.
Word is bone. I remember, back in the day when E came to me, he was like, "Wow, somebody." I was like,
Right there,
"Nah,
bars.
man." Like, nah, man, I don't do that, bro. Like, nah, man, this is me right here. I don't even know what I'm gonna say on my next rhyme, man. And to write it for somebody else, nah, man. But if I would have known what I know now, just spreading the talent, and I would have did it. Word up.
Saif, you
It'd
have
be
something
weird
else?
to write the whole rhyme for somebody, but collaborating with somebody would have been cool. Like, I don't know. You weren't even really ever. You didn't have like a lot of features or
not-
weren't
no.
a feature on stuff.
I
Jody
stayed away from
Watley.
that.
Yeah, Jody Watley.
Yeah, well, I had to do that.
The
I got the call on
truth
that.
hurts.
Yeah.
Yo, Rakim, what the fuck, bro? Hold on. We're sitting here. This is by the time I grow up on Rakim.
Okay.
And then here we are in 2000, whatever it is. I'm on the radio now as like a young adult on the radio. And you get a smash with Truth Hurts Addictive. It seems so random. How did that happen? That was your last hit, right?
Yeah.
Your last true hit. How did that happen? Good call,
Around
Cypher Sounds.
Dre,
Dre in the studio.
Dre, right?
He was doing her album. And actually, the writers was in there writing. She wasn't even there that day. The writers was in there writing, and I walked in. I was like, "Yo, what's that?" I heard the Arab music. I'm like, "Yo, what's that, Dre?" He was like, "Yo, that's such and such." I'm like, "Yo, man, Save Me 16 on it." He was like, "That's an R&B joint." I said, "Save Me 16 on
yeah,
it."
you heard what I said.
You heard what I said. I'm Rakim
Save Me 16
Allah.
on that, man. And sure enough, they finished the joint. She went and laid it down, and I went to the studio one day. Dre played it. I was like, "Yeah, that's hot." And he was like, "You gonna do it?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, what's good?" He was like, "All right, you got 16." Went home that night, blew it out, came back the next day, and it was a good piece of little chemistry we had, man.
You have no idea how happy I was to be on the radio and playing a Rakim record.
Right, yeah.
Yo, are you
Scooty-Doo.
Scooty-Doo? You fuck with any Drake records?
Drake? Yeah, man. Listen, man.
Yeah, but that's left field. Yeah.
Left, but I gotta add, it's an interesting. Hold on, let's be
Way
clear.
left field.
Drake is hands down the biggest rapper in hip hop. There's no question.
No doubt.
And Rakim's the greatest of all time. So I'm curious of what your thoughts are on Drake's music.
Yeah, man. Like, at the end of the day, you can't front, man. Drake makes good music. He, he sticks to his brand. He know what he wants to do, and me being as far as hip hop, I like a little bit of the melodic. I don't know, but
You like joints for the ladies. Let's be clear.
Oh, no doubt,
Rakim
no
was
doubt.
down to make a joint for the ladies.
no doubt. But saying like me and I love fame and dance.
Of
Like,
course.
I love that kind of hip hop. But you can't front, man. If you driving and a Drake song come on, when you first hear it, you might not love it. But after a while, it's like, yo,
Yeah.
can't front, man. Like, yo, keep doing your thing, man, and making good records, man. And what we got to do, we just got to make sure we know how to, label it, man. I think that's the problem right now, man.
Everyone labeling
Everybody-
everything the same.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Everybody
Like
calls
Lil
it
Yachty's
hip-hop.
getting labeled the same thing as Kendrick.
Right.
When Lil Yachty's
Right.
great and
Right.
Kendrick's great,
Yeah,
but they're
and
great in
rock-
different ways.
Exactly,
In rock,
man.
there's so many
Exactly.
subgenres, but hip hop is just hip hop.
rap.
Yeah,
It's-
it's
and-
rap,
and-
yeah.
I know. I find that to be a problem too.
And I think people wouldn't have much, as a problem with certain things that I think if we labeled it right, man. So, maybe, it's going to take somebody like yourselves, man, to kind of set up the,
what that genre is.
you know what I mean? Or just, bring that awareness to the table that we have to get a little order in the game now. We grew a lot since, 70, 69, 71, 72. Like, hip-hop's grown, so much since then. I think we just need a little, some superior cats that can oversee the situation, and we got to start shaping this thing into, what it's supposed to be, man. But it's not going to happen unless, it has to be somebody that's well respected in, the hip hop game. You cats been holding the torch.
Wow, that is very kind. If I find that person, I'm going to tell you because it can't be me who you're talking
End it
about.
right there.
You know what I mean? And
End it right now.
I'm going to end it right
It's
now.
not gonna get any better than
coming from y'all, I mean, people listen, man, and y'all been again holding the torch that people know if y'all say something.
Rakim, I want to say something very clearly.
Yes, sir.
Looking you in the eye.
No doubt.
If tomorrow I interviewed Barack Obama,
Right.
it would be tied for the greatest day of my life.
Wow.
Okay?
Shit.
No, I'm being dead ass. We've interviewed Hove. We've interviewed Eminem.
Wow.
I've sat next to the greatest athletes of. This means the world to us.
Thanks,
we have
shit.
been
real
You
talk,
you
man.
are.
I appreciate that. From y'all.
I can't describe what you mean to our. No matter what happens with my career, if one day you see me hosting the Tonight Show on NBC,
All right.
I want you to know that I will still hold this moment as the greatest moment for me
Yo,
to
thanks,
sit and
man.
talk to you about our culture. Thanks,
Pete. Word up, man. I mean,
The fact that you know my name is the greatest thing in my career.
I'll be like, yo, Pete Rose, what up,
yo,
man?
that's the greatest. That is the greatest thing in my career.
Yo, his daughter. Last show we did, the last bachelor ceremony in Jersey. His daughter was like, "Yeah, my dad's a fan of you." I was like, "What? What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, how?"
It doesn't even make sense to us, Ra.
Yeah, man,
like
listen, man, like, you know, again, man, being a fan, man, and, you know, we got radio personalities, man, and y'all authentic, y'all been real with it, y'all well respected with it, and I mean, and the way y'all do your thing, y'all right here capturing everything, man, we got much respect for.
Well, we just care about it.
The way y'all do it and present it and give it to the world.
The reason we started this podcast was to try to document moments like this, and the dream was always you. Don't worry, we're not going to retire. Even though we finally got you, we're not going to quit tomorrow,
No doubt,
but we
no
could.
doubt. Yo, thanks for that love. Word up.
Rakim Allah, thank you more so much.
Likewise, man. Thanks for the welcome, Matt. Y'all keep doing what you're doing.
And Cypher Sounds, I want to say something to you, too.
Pete Rose, one love, baby.
Thank you.
Cypher.
Yo, I need this.
Yes, sir.
And
Peace
Cypher, I want to say something to you.
Finally, definitively, who is who on the back cover of Paid in Full.
Okay, I'll start over here. This is Keith Green from Long Island. This is AJ from Queens. It's Cool G Rap. D Cool G Rap. This is my man Rob Garcia from Long Island. Allah bless the dead. And Allah bless the dead for Keith Green too. And it's my cousin Jason Riley with the black on, and I'll let Preem do the rest.
Yeah.
The one with the red and white, that's the original 50 Cent. Allah bless the dead.
That's the real 50.
And the guy on the top that wearing all the jewelry, that was my brother, so he could protect the innocent, you know?
All right, that's rap right
That's
there.
rap.
A lot of people always mistake Supreme for him, but that's his brother Rap.
He filled in for me.
All right, yeah, he filled in.
Yeah, he filled in that part for me.
Peace
so
to Rap, word
we
up.
could protect the innocent.
And peace to 50 too,
Yeah.
man, for recognizing the movement and grabbing, a lot of rappers, they'll get a movie gangster name, or you know what I mean, but he went right to the hood and done his homework, man. So big up to Fifth, man, and rest in peace to my man Fifth. Word up.
One of the ones that I first wanted to talk to you about was just the opening lines of "I Know You Got Soul," because they're so iconic.
Thank you, man.
Right?
Thank you.
Been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a strong rhyme to step to. You can see it's been referenced by tons and tons of people. Even R&B stuff, Timberland and Aaliyah. Like, what were you thinking when you were writing that opening line?
It's funny. It's like when I do records or albums, I kind of start off where I left off. And when we started to do this song here, it was after, the little gap from the, record that came out before it. And, the first thing that came to my mind was, I felt it's been a long time since my last album, so I wanted to kind of clear that up right off the top, man. So, and then it's funny because it's usually I go out the way to start my records with, some of the illest lines I can think of. But this here, I just wanted to make a statement with it, and it turned out to be one of the illest, couple bars that I said as well. So, it's ill how, the media and the listeners, perceive hip-hop and take what they want from it and use what they love.
Amazing. And I ain't no joke. First, I wanted to show you this real quick, how deep our users take it. You have this line, write a rhyme in graffiti in every show you see me in. And someone found an interview quote where they talk about how you used to actually write your rhymes in graffiti. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah, because I lost a book a long time ago, man. I was in high school. And I lost a rhyme book, man, and for maybe a month, 2 months, man, I was so sick that somebody was running around with my rhymes. You know what I mean? I mean, like when they took Pee Wee Herman's bike, man, I was like sick. And I never forgave myself for that, man. So after that, I started writing my rhymes in like the heaviest, hardest graffiti I can write it in. So if somebody else picked it up, they'd look at it and be like, yo, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I started writing my rhymes with graffiti, man. Word up.
And one other line in this tune, you have that, you talk about guide you out of triple stage darkness. So people who don't know the NGE, maybe you could break down what triple stage darkness is.
Triple stage darkness is deaf, dumb, and blind. And I always hope that my lyrics, brought life, light, and vision, scenery. You know what I mean? But it's a conscious statement. But hopefully the listeners can blow it out of proportion and get more from it as well.
Yeah. And turning to your solo career for a second, I remember that you just had that great line about like back before they turned hip hop to rap, there was always a place to party at.
Hold up.
And there was just something so powerful and kind of innocent about that, about how you describe that. I was hoping you could talk about that. Like what did you mean before hip hop turned to rap?
Well, I think at that time, I think hip hop was getting big at that time. And one of the things, we was noticing besides the music, the landscape was getting a little crazy. Like the clubs, you know what I mean? It was like, we couldn't keep a club open in New York City for more than a month. You know what I mean? So, the craziness was at an all-time high. The music was crazy. And, I was trying to let them know, it's getting a little crazy out here. We got to calm it down and get a little order. A word up.
And I know In the Ghetto is one of your favorite songs. I know you said that not the subject matter, but the mood of it was inspired by, I think, your dad passing.
Pop, yeah.
Yeah. You have just a really iconic line there where you say, I'm called to go back to the essence. It's a lot to learn, so I study my lessons. I was hoping you'd talk about that.
Yeah, when we, study lessons and literature, we try to, understand as much as we can to prepare us for what's after this, if there's, and even if it's something that's out of our control, we think that the more, positive things we do and the more that that's your key to heaven, you know what I mean? So it's just one of them things that, inspired me to, learn as much as I could and read as much literature as I could, because, deep down, we believe that that's our key to everlasting peace. So,
It's amazing. And I want to talk about Know the Ledge for a second, because you have the 3 verses that all end with this phrase, know the ledge, but the last one ends badly with, I guess I didn't know the ledge.
4th verse, yeah.
The 4th verse, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and, after watching the movie, seeing what they was getting at, you know what I mean, I wanted to kind of make a statement and show, no matter how good it may seem, how shiny the glitter may seem, that, you can be living this way one day and you can be, Tupac in the movie the next day, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, and I don't know, that was like, kind of early. I don't think rappers was dying in their own rhymes, at that time, because it was too, a rapper is too, too macho to die in a rhyme, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, he gonna kill everything in the room, but, that's one of the, first records where, I say, I want to show them that, this can happen, but, at the same time, all the fly things that you're doing could lead to, your demise. So.
Yeah, and Know the Ledge was this real, Nation of Islam 5% style breakdown of the word.
Right, yes,
sir.
Sir.
You're one of the first rappers to really popularize the Nation.
Word up, man. It was, I got Knowledge of Self back in 85, end of 85. And it was ironic, I met Eric B. around the same time. And around my hood, I was learning how to change over to more conscious rhymes because, you know, at that time, you know, I was a little younger, a little more crazy, so the rhymes was a little more violent. So at that time, I was learning how to, you know, convert, you know, my rhyme style over, and I met Eric B. So it was like, you know, I felt it was like, you know, like almost like a, you know, like a calling. You know, he came up at the right time. I was presented knowledge of self at the right time. You know what I mean? So I felt all that came together for a reason, and I never, you know, put it down because I felt that the knowledge was brought to me because Eric B was on his way. So, you know, it's one of the things that I cherish, man.
Amazing. And you have this lyric on How to MC that I think is just so iconic of your style. You call yourself part lyricist, part instrument.
Yes, sir.
I was hoping you could talk about that a little bit.
I don't know what I guess with my musical background, I noticed like whenever I wrote rhymes, I kind of wrote them in a key. Cause you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, you know, you hear the music and for some reason, like my rhyme would just kind of fit right in key with the track. And it took a while, like at first I didn't really know I was doing it. Then somebody, you know, brought it to my attention, like, yo, man, you hear how every time the key of the track change, I'm like, yeah, ain't I supposed to do that? Like, you know what I mean? And then, you know, the more I start paying attention, really, too many people don't really do that. But I guess it's my musical background. Growing up in my household, man, my mother sang, you know, everything from opera to jazz and played everything from opera to jazz. I played saxophone when I was in school. You know, I started with the recorder like everybody else, worked my way up to the saxophone, and all that was embedded in me, so I just kind of put it all out on the paper.
That's amazing. And keep them eager to listen. You have this line that so talks about your style, how you're relaxed, you're laid back. You say, before I kick a rhyme, I kick my feet up to let you know everything's under control.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's kind of like my style of rhyme that I use, you know what I mean? You know, I've always been a laid-back person, and it kind of, you know, shows in the rhyme. So I kind of, you know, play with people so they know what to expect and how I, you know, project my rhymes.
Yeah. And you have this on the 18th letter, you know, you say rhythm, you know, just something that's so deep about where rap really comes from beyond, you know, the 70s, beyond New York, going even deeper. You have that line about rhythms we express in similar to our ancestors. It'll answer your questions if you understand the message.
Word up. You know, that we take that back to, you know, the drums and the messages that, you know, our ancestors was playing. And just like then, music was used as a voice to kind of get messages out. You know what I mean? You know, they would sit in the fields and start a song and start, you know, doing a song. But meanwhile, they saying, yeah, we cutting out in the morning. Make sure you're ready at 6. And we gonna be gone. You ain't ready, we out. You know what I mean? So it was a message then. And, you know, I tried to, you know, use the same tools and use it the same way they did, man. I guess I thought that was the proper way to use it, you know?
Yeah. And I just have to ask, on Paid in Full, obviously you use the term dead presidents, which later would take on so much currency in rap. Were you the first person, as far as you know, to use that on a record?
Yes, sir. I say that proudly. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it was, it's funny, I was a little kid, and I remember my uncle was supposed to take me to Disney World, right? And he was so busy. He dealt in oil. He wanted to take me, but he really didn't have time. So every time he seen me, he used to give me $100 bill. Boom, crispy. I'm like 6 years old, 5 years old. I used to pop it open, stare at it all day. Then I started looking at my man that was on it, because that's like the last thing I really realized. Is like, yo, who are these dudes on here? Because the other bill got a different dude on it. this bill got this, so I started paying attention. And then my uncle told me that he was a dead president. It shot out my head, never thought about it again until I started rhyming. And it just automatically came back out like, yo, dead presidents, man. So, and you know, I always used, you know, what I learned in my life, you know, in my rhymes or what I seen, what I heard, but mostly what I lived and what I learned in my life is, you know, what I put on paper.
Amazing. I mean, and you had such a background in rap. I know you said your brother used to tour with Curtis Blow.
Yeah, my oldest brother, Ronnie, used to tour with Curtis Blow.
What was he doing with him?
He played keyboards. And, you know, he was doing his thing. He's on the dollar bill, y'all. Dollar bill. That's my brother saying that, playing a do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That's my brother. But, you know, coming up in that household, man, was definitely a blessing. You know, my mother, you know, it was days when we have company over, we all be downstairs, and she started playing music, and she sing along. And I just remember, you know, just watching her, like, perform, and, like, whoever was there just, like, couldn't take their eyes off my mom. She started singing. You know what I mean? My pops had a different effect. He'd come home, throw a record on, and walk away like, yeah, check that out. You know what I mean? So, like, in the mix of all of that, and my brother's coming up, you know, orientated in music, man, and, you know, me being the youngest, everything just kind of watered down on me.
You play around so much with the term, in your early career, the term MC, you know, so easily do a EMCE, and then you have this line on Eric B. as president. You say, to me, because to me, MC means to move the crowd.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's funny. Like, that's another thing that kind of organically, like, came about. I draw a lot when I write rhymes. When I'm thinking of something, I'll just sit there, you know, draw. I might just write my name, graffiti, just write stuff. And you write MC, and then you look at it, and it's like, okay, that could mean move the crowd. Or, you know what I mean? You think of something that, you know, it really means, and, you know, that's another one of those things that just came together, man. I don't know if I used to sit there and look for, you know, cliche words or whatever, but, you know, I definitely have a few of them, man. I know, definitely have a few of them.
That's amazing. And just finally, you know, more generally, one last thing, like, just when you came out, right, with the first single, with the first record, right. You were at 17, 18? 17. How does a 17-year-old kid from pretty far from the epicenter of hip-hop, right, from Long Island, how do you come in and revolutionize what's happening? Like, where does that come from?
I think you hit it on the head. Like, me being so far from New York, I used to, you know what I mean? I used to just sit there and wonder, like, yo, what is going on in the city right now? What are they doing? How do they come up with it? And I used to just sit there and just think about it so crazy that it actually drew me closer to New York, made me feel like you know, even though I was 60 miles away, I swore I knew, you know what I mean? Yo, I was doing in the hood every night just by, like, yo, they gotta be doing something similar to what we doing out here, you know what I mean? So just trying to fathom New York, it made me think bigger, knowing that I was from Long Island, that it was gonna be harder to get in. So I came up with that rhyme, rough enough to break New York from Long Island. And I meant it like I can literally break like I'm the reason why Long Island is over here and New York is here. But I'm rough enough to break New York, but I'm from Long Island, you know what I mean? So it was just another one of them things where I was playing with words, but really, like, you know, I was really, you know, fixated on trying to make my way in, knowing I was from Long Island. They was like, Long Island, what are you doing from Long Island? No rappers in here from Long Island, so I had to make my way in.
So you have this, you know, on the first record especially, you're sort of rebelling against Quiet Storm. You know, whether it's Jazz with a Quiet Storm, don't get excited. You've been buying to a Quiet Storm, especially that, like, whether it's jazz or the Quiet Storm, I can turn it into hip hop form.
Well done.
Like, I just wanted you to talk about it because Quiet Storm was super popular when you were going with that. So, like, why talk about Quiet Storm?
Yeah, actually, what I was saying was it don't matter what you give me to rhyme to, I can rhyme to it. If it was what I said, if it was a string of a violin, string of a harp, like I used to always say, like, you can give me pots and pans and I'll rhyme to it. So that was just saying, like, if it's jazz or the Quiet Storm, I can make it into hip hop. You know what I mean? Just to also just opening up the horizons to let them know, like, yeah, I do sample jazz, like, so expect it. Like, sometimes I would kind of just, set them up to understand me a little better and understand what I was doing.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Supreme. Anything to add? What was your take on what he was doing when he was first starting out? Where were you in relation to that?
Well, I met him when I threw a block party in my neighborhood for the young kids.
Word up, fourth grade.
I met him.
Word
he
up.
gave me the limo.
Word up, 4th grade projects back in '86.
Yeah.
And I remember when we got up in the projects, people was looking like, yo, y'all really came here. Like, no rappers come here. No rap. They was like, yo, y'all are here. My man Supreme, he was, holding it down. But it was like, that kind of, set us up big in the streets, man. That got us a lot of street cred. And, from there, back then you had to get co-signed by the streets first.
Yeah.
And once you made it in the streets, then, you make it in the industry. So, we paid our dues in the street, got the love from the street, and they made the streets made the world like us, man. So thanks to the hood, thanks to people like Supreme, you know what I mean, and holding us down and supplying things for the neighborhood, man, because at the same time, what he was doing, for the neighborhood, it was, he was also doing something for Eric B. and Rakim, because like I said, I can walk anywhere in New York City by myself, all my jewelry on, money hanging out my pocket. I could be drunk going up the street. And people say, yo, Rod, you got money hanging out your pocket. You know what I mean? And that's the beautiful thing, man, about, the way...
he was like one of the first rappers that Dapper Dan ever had. They was the
word
first
up.
rapper
Word
that
up.
Dapper Dan ever did anything for. He was all doing nothing but street guys.
Word up. And that's thanks to my man Preem and his
I
brother
got a
Rap.
rapper dude that I want you to do an outfit for. Because we had to do a party in a little hole in the wall bar. And everybody
I came through there.
Everybody in my crew had Gucci on.
I came through. You know what I mean? I got the sweats on. I probably had on like a little sweatsuit. I came through, man. Everybody in there had Gucci, Fendi, Louis,
And
Polo, MCM. So, like, I'm looking around. I'm just different colors. They got matching the sneakers. And I'm just sitting there real quiet. After I seen about the 30th dude with a suit on, I was like, yo, Preem, come here, man. Where y'all getting these suits from, man? He was like, oh, don't worry about it. That's my man Dap. I'll take you there tomorrow. And I'm still, I want, nah. Who is this dude? What is this? What's going? Don't worry about it. I'll take you there in the morning. Be ready 11 o'clock. Whoa. Sure enough, man. I went up there the next day. Preem and them took me up there. I seen my man Dap, and he literally sewed the suit on my back. Like, about 6 people measuring me up. Boom, boom, boom. I'm standing there talking. Before I know it, I have a piece of leather on my back. Before I know it, they stitching this on. I got arms now. Got a jacket on. I'm like, yo. Real talk. Peace to Dapper Dan, man. He made the hood look so good. Word, so good.